The skies above the ruined Earth were silent, too silent. For decades, the blue planet had been reduced to a cracked shell of deserts and ash, its once thriving cities buried beneath layers of dust and forgotten memories. Satellite images showed nothing but barren wastelands and skeletal ruins. Yet, as the great ships appeared in the outer atmosphere, the world's remaining survivors felt a strange pulse of hope. Or was it dread? The alien alliance called themselves the Aurelians, an ancient coalition of starfaring civilizations who declared their mission to liberate humanity from its own self-destruction. Towering vessels, shaped like spiraling crystalline towers, glided effortlessly above the Earth's orbit, casting shimmering shadows across the desolation below. Their arrival was heralded by broadcasts in dozens of languages, promising rescue, peace, and a new beginning. From the bridge of the Aurelia Ascendant, Commander Vorel watched the planet below. Our scans confirm minimal population, mostly scattered. Survivors and refugee outposts, he said, voice low and measured. They are ripe for integration. The broken Earth will be our greatest humanitarian triumph. Yet, in the dark corridors of distant colonies orbiting distant stars, the news was met with alarm. On the mining station Elysium 7, Commander Jaya Arlen frowned as she heard the broadcasts. "They think Earth is all that remains?" she muttered. "They don't know what we've built out here?" Far from Earth's shadow, humanity had not faded into extinction. On the outer rim, humanity's scattered colonies had transformed adversity into strength. In the asteroid belts of Alpha Centauri, beneath the icy crusts of moons in the Tau Ceti system, in the floating habitats of Epsilon Eridani, humans had endured, adapted, and thrived. Here, amid the stars, they had found freedom from Earth's scars. New governments had emerged, federations, cooperatives, even democracies unthinkable on the old world. Technology blossomed in unexpected ways. Neural interfaces linking minds, bioengineered ecosystems, propulsion systems that bent physics without breaking laws. In the bustling starport of Nova Meridian, Jaya convened a meeting with other leaders from the outer colonies. "The Aurelians are coming," she announced grimly. Thomas Krev, an elder statesman from the Martian refugee fleet, leaned forward. "If they're here to liberate, why haven't they made contact with us? Why Earth first?" Jaya's gaze was hard. "Because they don't believe we exist. Or worse, they don't want us to." Back on Earth, the survivors listened to the first broadcasts with cautious hope. For many, the Aurelians were saviors, offering medicine, food, and the promise of safe passage off the dying planet. Children watched the glowing ships with wide eyes, dreaming of new lives, but others, hardened by years of loss and mistrust, whispered warnings. Among them was Elder Marek, one of the few who remembered Earth before its fall. "They come with promises," he said quietly. "But freedom is not given. It is taken. We must be ready." On the Aurelia Ascendant, Commander Vorel prepared for the first diplomatic approach. His officers arranged their finest holographic banners and translated messages of goodwill. They planned to meet the Earth survivors with open hands, a gesture of peace. But unknown to them, hidden in the asteroid belt beyond Mars, a human fleet stirred in silence. Captain Jaya Arlen stood before her crew aboard the Starward Guardian. Her eyes burned with fierce determination. "They believe Earth is the last outpost of humanity," she said. "But we are the star's true survivors, and we will not be liberated. We will stand free." Her words echoed through the ship's corridors, sparking a quiet fire of rebellion. As the first Aurelian envoy descended to Earth, a small human resistance group moved through the ruins, preparing to make their presence known. The stage was set for a collision of ideals between those who sought to save a broken world and those who had already claimed the galaxy as their own. and the true battle for humanity's future was only just beginning. Beyond the shattered blue globe, humanity's true legacy shone brightest among the stars. The sprawling colonies were scattered like jewels across the void, orbital habitats around gas giants, cities carved into asteroids, sprawling domes on distant planets. Each was a testament to human resilience, innovation, and determination to survive where Earth could not. In the bustling space station Nova Meridian, Commander Jaya Arlen paced before a holographic map dotted with flickering lights, each representing a human settlement beyond the solar system. The room was filled with leaders, strategists, and diplomats from the outer colonies. "We've lived in the shadow of Earth's fall for too long," Jaya said, voice resolute. "The Aurelians think they come to liberate the last survivors of a broken planet. But what they don't know is that we have already liberated ourselves." The others nodded, their faces grim but determined. The alliance of human colonies had grown quietly, uniting under shared ideals of freedom and cooperation. They had rejected the old Earth's broken systems of control and instead embraced decentralized governance, bio-integrated technology, and exploration. On the outskirts of the Epsilon Eridani system, the colony of New Dawn hummed with life. Vast forests were bioengineered beneath giant glass domes, powered by fusion cores and nurtured by advanced AI systems. The people here lived in harmony with their environment, a far cry from the wasteland Earth had become. Talia Voss, a young engineer and native of New Dawn, adjusted her neural interface as she monitored the incoming Aurelian communications. "They don't realize," she said to her team. "They think Earth is humanity's last hope, but out here we're stronger than ever." Her voice was steady but edged with urgency. The arrival of the Aurelians was not just an event. It was a potential threat to the autonomy and hard-won freedom of every colony beyond Earth. Meanwhile, aboard the Aurelia Ascendant, Commander Vorel reviewed reports from reconnaissance teams. The data was troubling. "Earth is empty for the most part," he said to his second-in-command. "But these outer systems, they show signs of advanced human civilization, warships, communications, infrastructure." His officer hesitated. "They are not listed in our records. Could they be rogue colonies?" Vorel's gaze hardened. "Or remnants of a rebellion?" The Aurelians had expected to find a planet of helpless survivors, easy to govern and assimilate. Instead, they faced a dispersed but formidable human presence, one that had not only survived, but thrived. Back on Nova Meridian, Jaya prepared a broadcast. "This message is for the Aurelians," she said, stepping before the communication console. "You claim to come as liberators, but liberty is not a gift you give. It is something we seize for ourselves." Her message was beamed across star systems, reaching every human settlement and every Aurelian listening post. The galaxy heard a declaration. Humanity was not a broken species in need of saving. Humanity was a force that had already broken free. Tensions rose as the Aurelian fleet repositioned. Commander Vorel convened a council aboard the Ascendant. "We cannot ignore these colonies," he warned. "They challenge our mission and our authority." Admiral Celine, a strategist known for her ruthless pragmatism, proposed a plan. "We strike first," she said coldly. "Target their communication hubs, isolate them, force them to surrender before they unite fully." Vorel clenched his jaw. "I hoped for peace, but if war is what they choose, we will not hesitate." Meanwhile, Jaya stood on the observation deck of the Starward Guardian, watching the stars blaze beyond the reinforced glass. "We didn't just survive," she whispered to her crew. "We built something greater, and now we'll fight to protect it." Her eyes reflected the vastness of space, the promise and peril of the future. The galaxy was no longer a quiet void waiting for salvation. It had become a battleground for freedom, and humanity, scattered among the stars, was ready. The orbit of Earth, once a symbol of humanity's cradle, had become the stage for a confrontation neither side had fully anticipated. The Aurelian envoy ship Luminaris drifted into position near the orbital station known as Haven's Gate, a relic of the old Earth space program now repurposed as a hub for the scattered survivors. The enormous crystalline hull of the Luminaris gleamed softly under the weak sun, a symbol of otherworldly power and a promise of salvation, or subjugation. Inside the station, representatives of the survivors prepared for the historic meeting. They were a mix of hardened refugees, scientists, and former military personnel. At their forefront stood Mara Sen, a charismatic leader with deep ties to the outer colonies and Earth's dwindling population. She understood the weight of this moment. The docking clamps hissed as the Aurelian ship secured itself. A shimmering airlock opened, revealing the first alien delegates. Towering and elegant, the Aurelians wore intricate ceremonial armor etched with glyphs that glowed faintly. Their leader, Ambassador Vreth, stepped forward, his voice resonating through the chamber with calm authority. "We come with open hands," Vreth began, "to bring peace, order, and hope to the remnants of your world. You are not forgotten. The Aurelians offer you sanctuary, healing, and a place within our great alliance." Mara's eyes met his, steady and unflinching. "Sanctuary is a luxury for those who have freedom to give. Our people are not helpless. We have survived storms you cannot imagine, and while Earth may be broken, humanity thrives beyond your vision." Whispers rippled through the chamber. This was not the subservient reception the Aurelians expected. Vreth raised a hand, signaling for silence. "We are aware of scattered colonies in the outer systems, but they are disconnected, isolated fragments, lost remnants without unity. We ask for cooperation, that you join us in rebuilding your home and your future." Before Mara could respond, a sharp signal interrupted the meeting, a live feed from the Starward Guardian orbiting near Alpha Centauri. Jaya Arlen's determined face filled the display. "To the Aurelians," Jaya said, voice firm and unyielding. "Humanity is no longer defined by Earth alone. We have built worlds of our own, forged alliances beyond your records. We stand united, not as subjects to be saved, but as equals demanding respect." The chamber fell silent again, tension thick enough to cut with a knife. Vreth's expression flickered, a trace of surprise crossing his alien features. "You speak of unity. We wish to understand." Mara nodded. "Then let us show you." In the weeks that followed, the Aurelians were escorted to several key human colonies beyond the solar system, places they had ignored or deemed irrelevant. They witnessed thriving cities built inside asteroid belts, where trees grew under artificial suns, met scientists who had unlocked new energy sources without destroying their worlds, and learned of fleets of human vessels dedicated not to war, but to exploration and mutual aid. At each stop, human leaders greeted the Aurelians with a mixture of wary hospitality and proud defiance. Jaya Arlen, aboard the Starward Guardian, addressed the visiting dignitaries. "You see what Earth's destruction did not end," she said. "It only made us stronger. We refuse to be the broken survivors of a fallen world. We are the architects of a new future, one we will defend with every breath." Yet, beneath the surface, doubts grew within the Aurelian Council. Some members admired humanity's resilience and innovation, seeing in them a potential partner. Others viewed them as unpredictable, rebellious, and dangerously uncontrollable. Ambassador Vreth found himself torn. The official mandate demanded control and integration, but his encounters with human leaders had awakened a new respect and a troubling question. Was true liberation possible without freedom? Back on Earth, Elder Merrick watched the unfolding events with weary eyes. They come thinking to rescue us, he said softly. But they do not understand. We are not the ones who need saving. His gaze drifted to the horizon, where the stars beckoned. Humanity has already liberated itself. The real journey begins now. The first contact had changed everything. The stage was set, not for submission, but for negotiation. Between alien saviors and stellar-born humans, a new chapter in humanity's story was unfolding. One that would test the limits of power, pride, and what it truly means to be free. The silence of Earth's wastelands echoed a haunting reminder of the past. Cracked deserts stretched beyond the horizon where great cities once thrived. The planet's atmosphere was thin and poisoned, with storms of dust swirling over abandoned ruins that bore silent witness to humanity's darkest days. Among the survivors who had refused to leave Earth, Elder Merrick moved slowly through the skeletal remains of a city once called New Hope. His fingers traced the faded names carved into the walls of a crumbled memorial. The words had once inspired generations. Now, they were ghostly echoes. He paused beneath a shattered dome, the place where he and others had first dreamed of escape and rebirth. In his mind, the memories of Earth's collapse burned fiercely. Decades earlier, Earth had been a world on the brink. Climate catastrophes, unchecked wars, and political collapse had shattered the planet's foundations. Governments fell like dominoes, cities became battlegrounds, and the rich fled to orbiting stations or fled outward to the stars, leaving the masses behind. Merrick had witnessed the last great evacuation, a desperate, chaotic exodus aboard battered ships to unknown worlds. Many perished en route. Many more found themselves stranded in hostile territories. But Earth was more than a corpse to him. It was the seedbed of humanity's spirit. In a flashback, Merrick's voice narrated as scenes of the past unfolded. The governments failed us, but humanity did not fail itself. In the ashes, small communities banded together. We held on to hope, even when all seemed lost. He remembered the underground labs, the hidden farms, the secret gatherings where knowledge was preserved and passed down like sacred fire. The survivors learned to adapt to poisoned soils and scant resources. Children born under toxic skies grew up with the stories of Earth's greatness and its fall, and the promise of a future beyond. Yet, while Earth survivors endured in silence, other parts of humanity flourished. In the outer colonies, technologies had advanced in leaps unimaginable on Earth. Neural interfaces allowed instant communication across light years. AI companions aided in rebuilding ecosystems. Ships could traverse interstellar distances in months rather than decades. Merrick understood the divide, a rift between those clinging to the old world and those who embraced the cosmos. Back in the present, Merrick met with Mara Sen and Jaya Arlen in a secure communications chamber aboard Haven's Gate. The leaders of Earth's remnants and the star colonies had come together, their faces a mix of hope and worry. "We must never forget Earth," Merrick said gravely. "It is where we began, but we cannot let it define where we go." Mara nodded. "The Aurelians think Earth is all that remains. They don't see what we've become." Jaya leaned forward, her voice sharp. "If they try to control us, they will find a united front far stronger than the ruins they expect." The Aurelians, observing from afar, debated their next move. Some advocated for diplomacy, convinced that humanity could be persuaded to join the alliance voluntarily. Others, fearful of losing control, pushed for a preemptive strike against the colony's military hubs. Ambassador Vreth wrestled with his conscience. He had witnessed the strength and spirit of humans firsthand, but was bound by duty to his people. In a quiet moment, Vreth confided in his aide, "Perhaps we underestimated them. Perhaps liberation is not a chain, but a choice." On Earth, a small group of survivors moved covertly through ruined cityscapes, preparing for what many feared: war. Among them was a young woman named Lyra, skilled in guerrilla tactics and passionate about defending her home. "We fight not just for survival, but for freedom," she told her comrades. "Earth may be broken, but our will is not." Her eyes reflected the burning hope that still lived in the hearts of those who refused to surrender. The shadows of Earth were long and dark, but within them burned a fierce light, a reminder that even broken worlds could birth new legends. As the galaxy watched and waited, humanity stood at a crossroads. Would they allow their past to chain them, or use it as a foundation to claim their destiny among the stars? The answer lay not just in power or technology, but in the unyielding spirit of those who refused to be broken. The calm before the storm was shattered when the first Aurelian battlecruisers slipped beyond the edge of the Orion sector, moving with silent purpose toward human colonies in the outer rim. Their mission was clear: assert control before humanity's scattered settlements could fully unite. Commander Jaya Arlen was on the bridge of the Starward Guardian when the alarms blared, a sudden warning flashing across the star maps. "Enemy vessels entering contested space," her tactical officer reported. "They're heading for New Dawn." Jaya's jaw tightened. "Prepare the fleet. We've trained for this moment. It's time they learned that humanity does not surrender." News of the impending attack spread quickly through the colonies, igniting a firestorm of action. Mining, stations, research hubs, and orbital cities mobilized their defenses, from plasma turrets to sleek fighter squadrons ready for dogfights in zero gravity. Human ingenuity was on full display: adaptive shields, quantum decoys, and swarming drone escorts that overwhelmed enemy sensors. At New Dawn, Talia Voss coordinated the colony's emergency systems, rerouting power and deploying defense drones into orbit. "They think a few warships can crush decades of progress," she muttered, watching the tactical readouts. "They don't understand what it means to fight for your home." The Aurelians were confident. Their fleets were vast, their weapons advanced beyond human designs, yet they underestimated the human spirit. The first skirmish erupted in the void near the New Dawn system. Human fighters darted through the asteroid fields, using the chaotic terrain to outmaneuver the heavier Aurelian cruisers. Explosions lit the blackness as plasma bolts and missile barrages tore through hulls. Commander Vorel, watching the battle unfold from the Aurelia Ascendant, frowned. "They are reckless, but effective. This resistance is unlike any we have faced." Admiral Celine's voice was sharp. "We must crush them swiftly or face endless guerrilla warfare. Target their command ships. End this before it spreads." But human colonies were not isolated anymore. Coordinated by Jaya, they launched a series of strikes against Aurelian supply lines, sabotaging fuel depots and disrupting communications. The guerrilla tactics were relentless and brutal, hit-and-run attacks that kept the Aurelians off balance. On the mining asteroid Orion's Reach, a band of human fighters ambushed an Aurelian supply convoy. Explosions rocked the hollow rock as the convoy was destroyed, sending debris tumbling into the void. Lyra, the young guerrilla leader from Earth, watched the strike from a command module. "This is just the beginning," she said, voice steady. "We fight for every inch of freedom." Meanwhile, in the heart of the Human Federation, diplomatic channels buzzed with urgency. Mara Sen reached out to neutral species and trading partners across the galaxy, seeking allies. "If we are to survive, we must stand not just as humans, but as a united front with those who value liberty." Her efforts bore fruit. Several minor civilizations, long wary of the Aurelians' expansion, pledged support, offering resources, technology, and safe harbors for the human fleet. The conflict escalated rapidly. The Aurelian alliance, faced with stubborn resistance and growing coalition forces, began to fracture internally. Debates raged in their councils between those who sought peace through negotiation and others who demanded total conquest. Commander Vorel found himself at a crossroads. The mission he had believed was righteous now seemed clouded by the reality of war's toll. Amid the chaos, a secret meeting took place aboard the Starward Guardian. Jaya, Mara, and Marek gathered with key leaders from the outer colonies and Earth's remnants. "We have to be smarter than they are," Jaya said. "This isn't just about firepower, it's about outthinking and outlasting them," Marek added. "Our strength lies in unity. We must forge a federation that can withstand anything." Mara nodded. "And we must show the galaxy that humanity is no longer the broken survivors they pity. We are the masters of our own fate." The stage was set for a war not only of weapons, but of wills. As the fleets clashed across star systems, humanity's rising resistance sent a message loud and clear. They had already liberated the stars, and they would never be enslaved again. The battle lines stretched across the shimmering void of the Cygnus sector, a sprawling theater where human ingenuity faced the might of the Aurelian armada. It was here that the war's fate would be decided, a crucible that tested not just weapons, but the very soul of humanity. Commander Jaya Arlen stood on the bridge of the Starward Guardian, eyes sharp as the star maps flickered with tactical data. The fleet was battered but unbroken, shields flickering under sustained fire, fighter squadrons weaving through the chaos. "Status report," Jaya demanded. Lieutenant Haran responded quickly. "Enemy flagship Ascendant is holding position near the asteroid belt. Their reinforcements are delayed, but their main forces are concentrated here." Jaya nodded. "We need a decisive strike. Prepare the Nova Lance Squadron for a covert assault on their command ship. Disrupt their leadership. That's how we break their morale." In the shadowed corridors of the Aurelia Ascendant, Commander Vorel paced, grappling with the mounting pressure. The resistance was fiercer than anticipated, the humans fighting with relentless ferocity. "Commander," an officer reported, "the humans have hacked our navigation arrays. Our fleet's coordination is compromised." Vorel's expression darkened. "They are not just fighters. They are cunning. Increase countermeasures and prepare for boarding defense. We must hold the line." The Nova Lance Squadron, a hand-picked group of elite pilots, hurtled through the asteroid field under Jaya's command. Their stealth ships skimmed the debris, cloaked from sensors, moving closer to the heart of the Aurelian formation. Talia Voss coordinated the electronic warfare efforts from New Dawn's command center, guiding the assault through bursts of encrypted signals and jamming frequencies. "Now, squadron!" Jaya's voice crackled through comms. "Strike hard! Strike fast!" Explosions erupted as the Nova Lance pierced the Ascendant's defenses. Fighters swarmed the flagship's hull, engaging enemy boarding parties in zero-gravity combat. Plasma blades clashed with energy shields, the air filled with the roar of gunfire and the hiss of ruptured compartments. Inside the Ascendant, Vorel fought alongside his troops, his resolve steel-hard despite wounds. He saw his officers fall, systems failing, and the command bridge under siege. "Fall back to secondary command," he ordered. "We will not surrender." Meanwhile, on the outer colonies, resistance forces coordinated sabotage missions that crippled Aurelian supply lines across multiple systems. Drones deployed to disable weapons platforms, and hackers infiltrated communication networks, spreading disinformation and chaos within the Aurelian ranks. Lyra led a covert team on Earth, striking at strategic installations. "We're not just defending," she told her team. "We're reclaiming what was always ours." Back on the Starward Guardian, Jaya received a crucial update. The Ascendant's command structure was in disarray, its flagship vulnerable. "We have them on the ropes," she announced. "Prepare to push forward. This is our chance to change everything." In a dramatic climax, the human fleet converged on the crippled Ascendant. Coordinated strikes disabled its engines, while boarding parties secured key systems. Vorel, realizing defeat was imminent, confronted Jaya in the command bridge. The air was thick with tension. "You fight well," he said, breathing heavily. "Perhaps we misunderstood each other." Jaya's gaze was steady. "We're not your enemies, Commander. We want peace. But we won't bow to oppression." Voral's eyes flickered with conflicted emotions. Maybe there is another way. The battle ended with the surrender of the Ascendant and a ceasefire declared across the contested systems. Across the galaxy, humans and Aurelians alike took stock of the devastating toll. In the aftermath, a new dialogue began, tentative but hopeful. Ambassador Vreth returned to the negotiation table with a different perspective, while Jaya, Mara, and Marek pushed to forge a lasting alliance built on respect and equality. The galaxy was changing. Humanity had shown it was not a relic of a broken Earth, but a rising power, liberated, united, and ready to claim its place among the stars. The ceasefire was fragile, like glass stretched thin over a chasm of mistrust. Yet, amid the ashes of conflict, tentative hope began to take root. The Council of Stars convened on the neutral station Elysium, a sprawling habitat orbiting a distant gas giant. Here, representatives from human colonies, the Aurelians, and other galactic species gathered to shape a future that could either bind them together or shatter the fragile peace. Mara Sen arrived with Jaya Arlen and Elder Marek, their faces a blend of determination and war-weariness. They were the voices of a humanity reborn, scarred but unbroken. Ambassador Vreth greeted them with a respectful nod. "We stand at a crossroads," he said. "The war is over, but the future remains unwritten." The sessions began with heated debates. The Aurelians pushed for a centralized alliance under their guidance, a vision they believed would ensure peace and stability. Human leaders countered with demands for autonomy and equal representation. "We are not subjects to be governed," Mara insisted. "We offer partnership, not submission." Elder Marek's voice, calm but firm, reminded all, "Peace built on oppression is no peace at all. In the corridors of Elysium, alliances were forged quietly. Minor species, long overlooked by the Aurelians, found new respect in humanity's resilience. Traders, diplomats, and former adversaries began conversations that hinted at a shifting balance of power. Jaya worked tirelessly behind the scenes, coordinating defense pacts and technology-sharing agreements that would bind the human colonies together and strengthen their position. But not everyone welcomed the new order. Within the Aurelians, factions resisted change, old guard commanders who saw humanity's defiance as a threat to their empire's hegemony. They whispered of rebellion, sabotage, and a return to war. On Earth, some survivors feared losing their identity in the larger Federation, worried that the lessons of the past might be forgotten in the rush toward galactic politics. Lyra, now a seasoned leader, spoke to a crowd in a ruined city square. "We fought for freedom. We must ensure that freedom isn't traded for empty promises." Tensions flared when a mysterious explosion rocked Elysium, damaging the assembly halls and killing several delegates. Accusations flew like wildfire. Jaya immediately ordered a full investigation. The evidence pointed to a rogue Aurelian faction, attempting to sabotage the peace talks. "We will not be divided by fear or violence," Mara declared at a hastily convened session. "This attack only proves why unity is essential." Ambassador Vreth condemned the act and pledged cooperation in rooting out the conspirators, but the shadow of distrust lingered. Meanwhile, the human colonies accelerated efforts to rebuild. Earth advanced terraforming technologies were deployed, guided by scientists dedicated to healing their homeworld. Satellite arrays monitored the atmosphere, releasing engineered microbes to cleanse toxic zones. Elder Marek visited the recovery sites, his heart swelling with cautious hope. "Earth will live again," he said softly, "not as a relic, but as a symbol of our endurance." Back on Elysium, a breakthrough emerged. Jaya and Vreth presented a new charter, the Galactic Accord, a framework granting equal voice to all member species, protecting sovereignty while encouraging cooperation in defense, trade, and scientific advancement. The proposal was not perfect, but it was a start. After long hours of debate, it was ratified. The signing ceremony was held in Elysium's Grand Hall. Flags of countless worlds waved alongside Earth's faded blue banner. As Mara and Vreth clasped hands, cameras from across the galaxy broadcast the moment as a symbol of hope and reconciliation. The war that had threatened to consume humanity had ended not with domination, but with partnership. As celebrations spread, Jaya looked out across the star fields from the Starward Guardian's observation deck. "Humanity has come far," she murmured. "From broken Earth to the stars, and beyond." Elder Merrick joined her quietly. "The stars belong to no one, but they are free for those brave enough to claim them." Jaya smiled. "And we have already liberated the stars. The galaxy was watching, and humanity had sent a message loud and clear. They were no longer survivors of a broken past. They were the architects of a new dawn. The Galactic Accord had been signed, but the true work was just beginning. The war had left scars. Across star systems, ruins of cities, broken alliances, and wounded spirits. Yet, in every corner of the galaxy, the seeds of a new era were taking root. On Earth, the heart of humanity's past, transformation was underway. The terraforming efforts showed signs of success. Verdant patches emerged where once there was dust and decay. Rivers, long choked by pollution, began to flow again. Animals genetically preserved in archives were reintroduced. Children played beneath skies that were slowly clearing, their laughter a symphony of hope against a backdrop of renewal. Elder Merrick stood on a hill overlooking a burgeoning forest, the first new growth in decades. "Earth will live again," he whispered, "not as a memory of what was lost, but as a promise of what can be." Far from Earth, the Human Federation thrived. Mara Sen led diplomatic missions to distant worlds, weaving bonds with species that once viewed humans with suspicion or fear. Jaya Arlen, now an admiral, oversaw a fleet dedicated to exploration and protection, a guardian force embodying humanity's resolve to defend freedom and peace. Lyra commanded the Earth Defense Corps, transforming guerrilla tactics into disciplined strategy, ready to face any threat that dared challenge the new order. Yet, the galaxy was not without challenges. Rogue factions within the Aurelians still resisted integration, their whispers a reminder that peace required vigilance. Economic disparities, cultural clashes, and the shadows of old grudges simmered beneath the surface. The Council of Stars, now a vibrant assembly, worked tirelessly to mediate disputes, foster collaboration, and advance technology for the common good. In a quiet moment aboard the flagship Starward Guardian, Jaya reflected on the journey. From broken colonies on a dying Earth to the vast expanse of the stars, humanity had defied expectations. "We are not defined by our origins," she mused, "but by the choices we make." Mara joined her, handing over a data pad filled with reports from the latest diplomatic missions. "Humanity's story is far from over," Mara said, "but we've proven we can shape it, together." Meanwhile, Ambassador Vreth spoke at a memorial on Elysium, honoring those lost in the war. "We came to liberate survivors of a broken Earth," he said solemnly, "but we found a civilization that had already liberated the stars." His words echoed through the hall, a testament to the indomitable spirit of humanity. As years passed, the story of Earth's survivors became legend across the galaxy. Songs, holovids, and tales celebrated the courage of those who refused to be victims, who transformed despair into determination. Historians called it the Great Liberation, a turning point where humanity claimed not just survival, but leadership among the stars. The stars, once distant and cold, now felt like home, and humanity, no longer a relic of a broken world, had become a beacon of hope, unity, and endless possibility. Under a sky filled with unfamiliar constellations, children of many worlds looked up and dreamed, for in every heart burned the same truth. The stars were free, and so were they. The end.